Hello and welcome to Keys to the Crown, presented by Crown Royal. I'm Erin Summers, joined by Marcas Grant, fantasy football expert for the NFL Network. Of course, it's been a crazy start for the Saints. We had a very different game in week 2, and now we are heading into the game at New England. Marcas, I don't know if anybody knows what to expect exactly, but who would you start and sit in this one?
Yeah, the Saints through the first 2 weeks have been maybe the hardest team to figure out. I would say start Alvin Kamara, which I know sounds sort of obvious, but I'm saying it more as reassurance. He had a pretty good game in week 1, had kind of a not so great game in week 2, and now he's facing a pretty good defense. But this is more just to reassure people that Alvin Kamara is going to be fine. So in case you're a little bit nervous, get him back in your lineup, and they should get him the ball plenty. I think he's going to bounce back against New England in week 3. I would say, though, on the other side, maybe you're not completely sitting Damian Harris if you have him on your fantasy roster, but I think you should be a little bit worried. I mean, I think the one thing that has been consistent for the Saints in the first 2 weeks has been their ability to stop the run. So as much as the Patriots want to run the football and as much as it has been Damian Harris, I would be a little bit worried about him putting up a big number against the Saints defense. And then if you're looking for a sleeper, I would say it is the Saints defense. Look, I don't think they're as bad as what happened in week 2. I'm not sure that they're as good as what happened in week 1. I think they're somewhere in the middle. But they're facing a rookie quarterback in Mack Jones, who's been okay, but not spectacular. But I think this is the first real test that Mack Jones and the Patriots defense are going to, or the Patriots offense, I should say, are going to get this year. So I think that the Saints really have a chance to put up a good number on the defensive side.
Well, you mentioned quarterbacks, Mack Jones, one of the rookies this year. There's a lot of them out there. We know Kyler Murray is going to bring it every single week. He's averaging 35 points a game so far. And of course, everybody has him in their league. So if you're looking for a quarterback, because there were a lot of injuries last week, one of those with Bears quarterback Andy Dalton, we're picking up Justin Fields. Are we doing something different? Maybe grabbing Teddy Bridgewater, who's with the Broncos?
No, I think Teddy Bridgewater is a great pickup this week. I mean, they've got the Jets, who are not a bad defense, but I think they're sort of untested. And Bridgewater's looked very good in his first couple of weeks. He's spreading the football around, and even without Jerry Jeudy, he's very effective. Another quarterback name that I would pick up this week would be Daniel Jones, who had the huge game last week, was actually the Giants' leading rusher, believe it or not. We know he can run with the football effectively. He's not turning it over, and he's got a very good matchup against the Atlanta Falcons in week 3.
Yeah, that was a big Thursday night game. And looking at this Thursday night game, it's the Panthers at Houston. And I may just be hoping that the Panthers defense is really good, considering how the game shook out for us this past weekend. But they did look really good. If you're looking for a defense, is the Panthers somebody that we should be picking up on the waiver wire?
I think so. And I think they're a little bit underrated. I mean, just seeing what they've done the first couple of weeks, it was, they did it in the first week against the New York Jets, and everybody said, well, all right, let's hold our horses. I mean, it's a rookie quarterback. It's a young team with a brand new head coach. So I think people sort of looked at that cautiously. And then to come out and do what they did against the Saints in week 2, I think people are starting to sit up and appreciate the fact that maybe this defense is a little bit better than people are giving them credit for. I think another defense that sort of falls into that category is the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, you talked about how great Kyler Murray has been, but give credit to his defense as well. They've stepped up and they've made some plays. I mean, in that first week, they harassed Ryan Tannehill and the Titans pretty awful. I know they gave up a lot of points against the Vikings, but a lot of those came early. Then they started to lock down again. Chandler Jones looks great. J.J. Watt looks like the guy that we saw dominate for so many years in Houston. So the Cardinals are kind of floating out there right now. They've got a very good matchup this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, so they should be on a lot of fantasy rosters.
It's only week 3, so we have a small sample size, but anybody out there that's kind of jumped off the page to you, any sleepers that we should have our eye on?
I think Henry Ruggs for the Las Vegas Raiders has really stepped up and been kind of an interesting piece the first couple of weeks. Had a huge game in week 2 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're starting to move him around and use him a little bit more. Another guy that has been interesting the first couple of weeks has been Cordero Patterson, now for the Atlanta Falcons. He's wearing number 84 like a wide receiver, but he's playing primarily running back, getting a lot of those opportunities that we thought would go to Mike Davis. And so far through the first 2 weeks, I think has been a little bit more efficient and a little bit more effective. And he's another guy that I think needs to be picked up and added from a lot of waiver wires.
Hey, lots of great tips there. I really appreciate the time. Thank you for the insight, Marcus. I'm Erin Summers, and those are your keys to the crown presented by Crown Royal.